The House of Kuru, Part 2, Chapter 1. Death of a King. Tell me, O wise Guru Vaishampayana, now that you have delighted us with the birth of my ancestors, I wish to know how the children of Pandu fared upon their birth. How did Arjuna survive in the woods? How did Yudhishthira live among the hermits? Please, Guru, amongst us all, tell me their story, said Janamejaya, and Vaishampayana continued the majestic tale of the House of Kuru. A few years after the birth of the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, Kunti, along with Madri and Pandu, decided to leave the forest of Chitrakoota and march towards the forest of Shatashrunga. The forests of Shatashrunga housed sages and seers who were once the best bowmen, warriors, and kings, who left the princely life to pursue one of spiritual rigor. As soon as they reached the forest, they were amazed with the beauty and the magnificence of the forest. The forests of Chitrakoota were like a desert in comparison. As soon as they reached the forest, Pandu busied himself with building a shelter for the family, while Kunti went off in search of food to forage. Madri looked after the children. The family soon settled into a wondrous thatched roof hut built by Pandu and some of his servants who had accompanied him from the forests of Chitrakoota. Kunti had bought the foraged food and the family ate a hearty meal. Sages, seers, and various other members who lived within the range of the king approached the family and introduced themselves. Vasudeva, the brother of Kunti, heard that the house of Pandu had grown with 5 children. He was overjoyed and bought costly silken garments and delicious food from the house of Vrishni, which was closer to the forests of Shatashrunga. In the forest of Shatashrunga lived a wise sage named Suka, son of Sayati, who was the best archer in the entire forest. There was no archer equal to him, and even Pandu was inferior to his skill in archery. One day, as he was performing austere penances in the forest, Kunti approached him with humility and respect, just as he completed his meal. "O mighty bowman, your fame is never-ending. In every sage and seer I have spoken with, they mention of you in great glory, and as a queen of royal blood I have come in request of a boon. Please, O mighty sage, bestow this boon upon me," asked Kunti. The sage, who was fasting for several days and had just eaten a wondrous meal of fruits foraged from the forest thanks to Kunti, was eager to bless her with a boon. "Speak, O queen, what can an ascetic who owns nothing bestow you with?" he asked. "Mighty sage, your knowledge of the bow is my desire. Please, O mighty sage, impart this to my sons," asked Kunti, bowing her head while folding her palms. When the sage Suka raised his right palm and blessed the queen. "Be it so, I shall impart the children of Pandu on the ways of the bow," said the sage. Training for the children started the very next day. Though the sage Suka was a bowman, he was accomplished in javelin, swordsmanship, and the mace as well. The children of Pandu each excelled in a specific area of Suka's expertise. The firstborn Yudhishthira excelled with the javelin. Bhima excelled on the mace. Arjuna rivaled all the children with the bow, and the twins were unbeatable with the sword despite their age. As time passed, Arjuna became the best bowman under Suka. He became so good that Suka had to declare him his equal. A decade and a half passed rather blissfully for Pandu. He spent time with his children and his wives, all the while pursuing the austerities required for heavenly ascension. One day, while the children were in training and Kunti had gone out for foraging, Madri was rinsing all the clothes while bathing herself in a nearby river. There was something about the forests of Shatashrunga, especially during the spring when the flowers bloomed. The sweet scent of roses wafted through the air, and Madri, having just bathed in the perfumed scent of exotic flowers, got out of the river dripping wet. Just as she dried herself with a piece of cloth, Pandu happened to gaze upon her beauty. For a moment, he was awestruck. He had just seen his wife, a woman he was not allowed to even embrace, with passion and desire in his eyes for the first time since they wed. He was not sure if it was the cherry blossoms, the season of spring, or the pheromones of nature, but for some reason, the passion in his heart roared like a tiger, and one thing was clear. A woman of exquisite beauty, drenched in the waters of the river Yamuna, was standing before him, happened to be his wife. Madri, having just seen the former emperor of Hastinapura, smiled naively, not understanding the grave situation that lay before her. Pandu approached her slowly. Madri ignored him as she wrung her hair, which was still dripping wet, and she had only one piece of cloth covering her bosom and waist. As Pandu neared, she felt deep breaths, and soon it became obvious what his intention was. A look of sheer terror ran on her face. My lord, the curse, she stammered. Ha! I have performed austerities which tremble the heavens. No curse shall harm me, roared a tiger like Pandu, whose chest was swollen like a gorilla. Madri, convinced the prowess of lust had deprived him of his senses, screamed at the top of her lungs in hope for Pandu to snap out of his stupor and return to his senses. Yet that only seemed to encourage him more. Madri ran through the forest and Pandu gave a hot chase. She skipped through the thick trees and bushes while Pandu was hot on her trail. She shrieked and screamed all the way through, desperately hoping that someone would hear her, as Pandu, who got more and more desirous of his wife as he saw her running through the woods with a single piece of clothing covering her entire body. Finally, a tired and exhausted Madri got cornered and gave in to Pandu's advances, muttering something about curses and death. She tried to resist him, but he embraced her with his powerful arms, and the very second he embraced her, he fell down with a loud thud, dead. Once more, Madri screamed as her lord and husband lay dead before her. This time, Kunti heard the scream and came running in the direction of Madri, and to her horror, she saw the former emperor of Hastinapura lying motionless on the floor, and Madri in a single piece of cloth, dripping wet. Within seconds, she surmised what had happened, and a flush of fury and rage pranced through her face. She glared at Madri. "How dare you! How dare you seduce him!" roared a fuming and furious Kunti, as Madri sobbed. "Trust me, dear sister, I would never. I was just bathing. Something came over the king. I had never seen it before," sobbed Madri. And just like that, Kunti's anger ebbed away and her temper returned to normal, as she realized the burden of lust men suppress. The burden her husband carried for the past 2 decades, slaking it with austerities and self-control. But alas, it eventually overpowered him. Madri wrapped her hands around the neck of the limp and lifeless body, who was arguably one of the most powerful men on earth, lying lifeless on the ground before them by the power of lust. Kunti, along with Madri and the sages, accompanied by the sons of Pandu, arranged for the funeral of their father. "Look after my children, Kunti, for I will ascend the funeral pyre and unite with my lord," instructed Madri. No, I am the first wife. It is appropriate for me to do this," protested Kunti. "Kunti," commanded Madri, "you are wise, shrewd, and cunning, all of which are important for a woman to raise a group of children. In my naivety, I did not know that Pandu was desirous of me. Such a woman would lead this family to ruin. It is also appropriate that, as I was unable to serve my lord in this life, I will pursue him in the next and serve him there," said Madri. "But," protested Kunti once more. "No buts," commanded Madri, as she rose to the funeral pyre, thinking only of her lord. while she, along with the dead body of Pandu, were immolated, as the children of Pandu, especially the twins, cried inconsolably. The twins had just been orphaned. The sages tried to comfort them, but they had no ability to do so. The shocking realization that they were alone in the world dawned on them. They just lost their father. What? The mighty, the virtuous, the incomparable Pandu? He died so simply. He was the victor of the land of Bharata. He won a Digvijaya. Yet he died. He died in such a painful manner, said Janamejaya. You see, my king, the moral here is that the control of the senses is far more difficult than the control of empires, as you have learned from the tale of your great-grandfather. Vicious is lust. It steals away the intellect of even the most noble of men. Guard your mind carefully, else you too would be enslaved and ensnared by its evil vines, O prince, said the Guru Vaishampayana.
I hope you liked today's episode of The House of Kuru. If you have not already, please subscribe to this channel and like this video so that you will be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thank you.